Go.
It seems very odd that I should have to tell a bunch of college students to sleep more, because before I came to college, it seemed that, especially because my brothers went to college before me, that college students have this characteristic of excessive sleeping, which sometimes is the case, but if you were here for finals week, you are aware that we don't prioritize sleep over like socializing or grades. So, I mean, a lot of the conversations that you'll hear on campus are just people bragging about who like survived off of the least amount of sleep. Like me last night, I slept for 2 hours, so I'm kind of impressed with myself, but it's really unhealthy. So that's my secret. I never sleep. And a study by Hannah Lund and several other researchers for the Journal of Adolescent Health, it was found that over 60% of college students were categorized as poor sleepers. And this is just really concerning because that's a huge chunk of college students, and it adds to their stress and anxiety because they were surveyed and questioned, and all the students that were categorized as poor sleepers showed huge amounts of stress and anxiety in comparison to students who weren't categorized as poor sleepers. In this chart by the National Sleep Foundation, on their website you can find it, it just kind of shows the amount of sleep that we're supposed to be getting. And you can see if you're an infant or a child, you're supposed to get between 10 and 13 or 14 and 17 hours of sleep. And if you're a young adult or a teenager, which would be most college students, you need to be getting at least 7 hours of sleep to 9 hours of sleep a night. And of course, it's going to vary from person to person, so you just kind of have to find what works for you. But for those of us who are getting an average of like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, or those weeks where you just get 2 hours of sleep, like today for me, it's just really, really not healthy. In this chart found in an article by Brent Hurd and several other researchers at Carnegie Mellon, they surveyed that 73 out of 102 students said that they felt they performed poorly on an exam or assignment because of their lack of sleep. And the charts show that on the weekends, actually, that they're like trying to catch up on sleep. So most of the students surveyed like 7 to 8 hours of sleep average on the weekends. And on weeknights, they're getting like the most that they surveyed was like 4 or 5 hours a night. And then they asked them like reasons why they weren't sleeping. Like the reasons they procrastinated on sleeping were studying or socializing, and a lot of them said procrastinating. So like that could just be sitting on your phone. I know like if I go to set my alarm before I go to sleep, and then I just get on like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook for no particular reason. In a paper from Stanford Medicine by Richard Ruffin, she really just goes into detail about the dangers of lack of sleep. So we've all heard about like the physical and mental problems that lack of sleep can cause, but she also goes into how we always discuss that drunk driving is really unsafe, which obviously it is, but you don't really hear as much about drowsy driving because you don't talk about it as much. It's even more of a concern because you can be really sleepy and just drive somewhere and not really think that you're doing anything wrong because you're not drunk driving, but you can just as easily get in an accident driving sleepily. And in a study from Sleep Health by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, these are just a few of the risks associated with lack of sleep. So these are long-term things that can happen to people that aren't getting enough sleep: heart disease, high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, and tons of other things are associated with not getting as much sleep. And in a paper by Dean Bebe, I don't know how to pronounce that name, and a lot of other researchers from Oxford Academic, they did this kind of experiment where they had thousands of college students, and they administered to some of them 6 hours of sleep and to others 9 hours of sleep, which was the healthy amount of sleep, and then they quizzed them in the morning. So they like kind of switched them out. So someone would get 6 hours of sleep, someone would get 9, and then they switched. And it was just so obvious because those who got 6 hours of sleep, the shortened amount of sleep, were testing or quizzing way lower than those who got the appropriate amount of sleep. And it just went into the research that shows that it really affects your mental functioning, especially if you're having to get up early in the morning. And in this same research, they just kind of talk about how a lot of schools start at a really early hour and how it would be beneficial to everybody that they may push hours back. We're all here right now at 1 in the morning. And in the next paper I'm going to mention by Lisa Potter from the University of California at San Francisco, she discusses specifically because it's not so much that we think about how lack of sleep is going to affect us years from now. So if you're just sick, which a lot of us struggle with here in college, you would be smart to look at how much you've been sleeping the past few nights. So first semester I was really not sleeping a lot, and I got sick probably like 6 times, and I was probably sleeping like an average of 4 hours a night. And now I've been sleeping a lot more, except for last night, and I'm not getting sick as much, but you can just see here that those who got over 7 hours of sleep had a significantly lower chance of catching a cold, 17% chance, than those who got less than 5 hours of sleep had a 45% chance of getting a cold. So if you're not feeling too good or you're getting sick, you should probably look into sleeping more, prioritizing sleep, because a lot of us think that all these other things are really important and sleep is just kind of like this annoyance. I mean, I know you want it, but you kind of are like, oh, I have to sleep at some point. And whenever I came to college, I started like, instead of like saying I need to get at least 8 hours of sleep and then putting stuff in around that, I was like, how much work can I do without sleeping? So it's kind of a really unhealthy change in the mentality. But there is such thing as too much sleep in this study it's called Sleeping Too Much or Not Enough from Accountability Science. And it's just pretty obvious that if you've ever slept like excessively, like 14 hours on a weekend or something, and then you wake up the next day and you're still sleepy, I'm sorry, I'm going to take it off because I can't stop looking at it. If you like sleep 14 hours and you're still sleepy the next day, it's because you got too much sleep. So it's just important for everybody to kind of find the right amount for themselves. I know there's those averages, but it's going to vary from person to person. Your sleep cycle is going to be different, so you should just find not too little and not too much. And the best ways to implement sleeping more in your life, all of us have smartphones or something smart, I don't know. And smart watches or Fitbits have like a thing where you can leave them on and it'll track your sleep. And then there's just tons and tons of apps. You can go on the App Store and look up sleep, and there's Sleep Plus, Pillow, Sleep Better, Sleep Time, just to name like a few of them. And they like let you compete with your friends for like fitness goals or sleeping goals, and it'll just give you reminders and you can track your progress. And you can sign the Sleep Pledge on the National Sleep Foundation's website at this link right here. And I signed up for it just because.
I already broke it.
It'll just send you updates and stuff about why you need to sleep and reminders and encouragement or whatever. So I advise you all to try to get at least more sleep than I did last night. And